Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Nick from Ministry Boost, and I'm here with Rachel Walker, and we're going to talk a little bit about 3 boosts that she's experienced in her ministry. Welcome, Rachel.
Hey everyone, it's great to be here.
So before we jump in, Rachel, tell us a little bit about yourself and your church, which is going to relate to the 3 boosts, of course, that you're going to talk about as, a church plant and children's ministry, those 2 things combined. So tell us about yourself and your church.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm Rachel, and I am the kids director at United Church, which is a church that launched just a little under a year ago. We're actually coming up on our 1 year anniversary, and we are located kind of outside the Baltimore area. And we just launched with the intention of creating a church for people who don't go to church. The area that we planted in is one of the most unchurched areas in the state of Maryland. And so we are just excited to be in our community and reaching people there. And so again, we're about to turn 1 year old.
1 year old. That's awesome. So tell us, what are the 3 biggest boosts that really helped your children's ministry in a church plant setting? So that's pretty unique. And I'm sure everybody watching this is going to watch because they're launching a plant, or they are a plant a few years old, or maybe it's a new campus or something like that. What were the 3 biggest things that helped boost your ministry as you got started at United?
Well, I would say the number one thing, and probably the thing I could talk about the whole time, is we've had coaches or volunteers who lead other volunteers. We have that coach level of leadership in each of our environments. So we have an elementary environment, a preschool environment, and a nursery environment. And so in each of those rooms, there's one leader who's kind of the point leader. I honestly originally thought that we wouldn't have the capacity to have coaches because, especially in a church plant or really in any church, you're always so short on volunteers. You're like, I need every volunteer to be with kids. But this kind of level of leadership actually started with one of the people in our elementary room who was a small group leader coming to me and saying, hey, I would love to invest in and care for the volunteers in our room, even if I still am a small group leader, which isn't ideal to kind of have that dual role. But she started doing that, and we said, hey, the goal here is to eventually replace you so that you can just lead these small group leaders. And she has done an incredible job with that team. She cares for them. She communicates with them. She knows that room and those kids better than I do. And we probably talk once a week right now on the phone, just as we're continuing to build that ministry and figure out what works and what doesn't. And then we meet like every couple months. We're actually having a meeting tomorrow just to talk through some stuff for the upcoming school year and everything. And then we've slowly implemented that in each of our rooms, just kind of as a leader has risen up. And so that's been huge. They do circle clubs with their volunteers. They communicate with them. So they send like a weekly update to them. They pray for their teams. And I think it's just been huge because we want a ministry that's based on relationships with kids. And so we want to model that from the top down and have a leader that's caring for their few. And so those leaders can care for their few as well.
Cool. That's awesome. I get the question all the time, like, do I need coaches if I only have 20 volunteers or 15 volunteers? Or like, when do you start? And I'm always like, you can't really start too soon. I mean, once you get 10 volunteers, you can hand that off. And your church was an example of that. You implemented that early on. I don't know how many volunteers you had to start, but you implemented it early on, and it's been a big help since then. How about the second boost?
The second thing is, I guess, related to that. The idea of actually there was a podcast that Nick did with Alston Causey about the idea of creating a remarkable volunteer culture. And that was something that from the beginning we said that we wanted to offer to our volunteers. We wanted them to be excited about volunteering. And so that really starts from the beginning of when they start volunteering with us till we hope they never want to stop volunteering on the kids team. Part of that is having coaches. So we want every volunteer to feel cared for and known, which even with a small team of like 25 to 30 volunteers, I can't necessarily always do that well since we are a church plan and I'm balancing multiple roles. So really from the onboarding process to when they apply, we even ask them like in the application process, hey, what are 5 things under $5 that we can appreciate you with? And then 6 weeks after they start volunteering with us, we follow up and we ask them some more questions like, hey, how's your experience been? What can we do to make your serving experience remarkable? What are ways that you want to grow as an individual? So it's not just about the serving environment that they're in, but hey, how can we help you in your walk with Jesus and in your life? And then we also schedule kind of appreciation. So I just have like a really basic spreadsheet where I keep track of all our volunteers, and every week I want to do something to appreciate or reach out to a volunteer that has nothing to do with me reaching out about something I'm asking from them. So just reaching out and say, hey, I'm praying for you, or I just would love to get together with you and hear how you're doing, not as a volunteer, but just more as you're a part of this team and a part of our church, and we want to care for you. And so the key there has kind of just been always asking that question of how can we help our volunteers not just feel, but know that we don't only want something from them, we want something for them as well.
That's good. How about the third boost?
And the third thing is not something that we've done, but it's actually something that we haven't done. So in a church plant, especially, I guess, from my experience, I came from 2 internships where I was at 2 different churches that were just able to do a ton to make their ministry really remarkable. And I didn't always know what we were going to be able to do going into our church plant. Like, hey, what are we going to be able to do? What are we not going to be able to pull off? And so we started off doing a lot of things. It was like, well, it's just a little thing, but it'll make it better. And that just built up to a list of things where it's like, we can't do all of these things and do them well. So an example of that would be our elementary large group experience. We use Orange curriculum, and we used to kind of edit and tailor our scripts since we combine K through 5th grade. We would edit our scripts pretty extensively just to fit the amount of time that we had and the worship experience that we wanted to have. We had a set, and we were going to try to do live storytelling, and it just got to the point where we were not able to do all that. I was running around on Sunday morning, and they were like, where's the duct tape? And we don't have this for the set. And environment is also totally not my type of thing. So I was trying to own this part, and it wasn't even like paying off. The kids weren't really experiencing the difference. And then I was short on time and not connecting with volunteers well and stressed. So I just said, we're not going to do it until we have someone who can come on and totally own it. And just a few weeks ago, actually, someone in the church who isn't able right now, just because of their transportation situation, to commit to volunteering at kids on Sunday mornings, but still wants to be involved, said, I love environments. I would love to start like doing some kind of set for the elementary room. And I said, hey, if you can do it and you can do it under $20 a month, that is perfect. If you want to own that and run with that. And the kids loved it. She did an incredible job. She said it was low scale, but I mean, it was incredible. It looked beautiful. And so it's been awesome because it freed me up to still be able to care well for volunteers on Sunday mornings. And now it's given value to someone else who can do it way better than I ever could have done it.
That's awesome. That's some great wisdom there, because you're right. There's a lot of things you could say yes to, and saying no is a really important thing. Well, thanks for sharing those 3 boosts. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for having me.